Imagine this, you're walking through a quiet park, and suddenly you hear the trembling sobs of a little girl. She's sitting all alone on a swing, tiny hands clutching the chains as tears stream down her cheeks. No one else notices her. No one else stops. But one woman does, a poor nanny, exhausted from her long day of work, her clothes worn from years of use, her heart tender despite all the struggles she faces. And in that moment, she makes a choice that will change her life forever. If this already touches your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because what happens next will truly move you. The nanny's name was Clara. She was only 23 but had already lived a life that made her older than her years. She worked long shifts caring for other people's children, often skipping meals so the wages she earned could stretch to pay for her sick mother's medicine back home. Clara rarely had time for herself, but kindness, that was something she always carried, no matter how much life demanded of her. That afternoon, as she passed through the park on her way home, her weary eyes caught the little girl's sobs, and she couldn't walk past. She bent down gently, her voice soft as a lullaby. "Sweetheart, are you lost?" she asked. The girl lifted her tearful eyes, full of fear. I can't find my daddy. He said he'd be right back, but he's gone. I'm scared." Clara's heart ached. She sat beside her on the swing, brushing a tear from the girl's cheek. "It's okay, darling. You're not alone anymore. I'll stay with you until we find him. What's your name?" "Emily," the girl whispered, clutching the hem of Clara's sleeve like it was her lifeline. Minutes stretched on. Emily's panic slowly softened into trust as Clara distracted her with little stories, silly faces, and even offered the tiny piece of candy she had saved from lunch. She knew what fear felt like. She knew the pain of being small in a world that felt too big. And she refused to let Emily feel abandoned. What Clara didn't know was that eyes were watching from a distance. A man, tall and sharply dressed in a suit worth more than Clara's entire yearly wages, had returned to the park bench where he had left his daughter for a business call, only to find her gone. Panic overtook him until he spotted Emily, safe, smiling, clutching the hand of a woman who looked like she had nothing to give but kindness. That man was Alexander Reed, a CEO whose name was whispered in boardrooms and printed in financial magazines. A millionaire, feared by rivals, envied by many. Yet in that moment, he was only a father, shaken and guilty. He approached cautiously, his polished shoes crunching against the gravel. Emily's face lit up. "Daddy." She ran into his arms, but not before turning back and tugging Clara forward. "Daddy, this lady helped me. She stayed with me. She's my hero." Alexander's eyes softened as he looked at Clara. She expected annoyance, maybe even blame. Wealthy people never saw nannies like her as equals. But instead, gratitude washed over his face. "Thank you," he said, his voice low and sincere. "I don't know what would have happened if you weren't here." Clara smiled, brushing it off. Any decent person would have stopped. But Alexander knew better. He had seen countless people walk past his daughter, too busy, too blind. This woman wasn't just decent, she was extraordinary. Days passed. Clara thought little of the encounter, returning to her grueling routine. But then one morning, she heard a knock at her small apartment door. It was Alexander, holding Emily's hand. He had tracked her down. Emily had been asking about her hero nanny every day, refusing to forget her. "Clara," Alexander began, "I want to offer you something. Not out of pity, but because people like you, people with true kindness, are rare. Come work for me. Be Emily's nanny. And let me pay you what you truly deserve." Clara hesitated. She wasn't sure she belonged in a world of luxury and power. But Emily's eyes pleaded with her, and Clara realized it wasn't about money, it was about being there for a little girl who needed love. She accepted. Life changed quickly. Clara found herself in a mansion with hallways that stretched longer than the streets she once walked. But she remained the same gentle soul. Emily thrived under her care, filling the halls with laughter again. Alexander, always so consumed by work, began noticing something too. The woman who had once comforted his daughter was now teaching him lessons about patience, humility, and love. As weeks turned into months, Clara became more than just a nanny. She was a healer of broken hearts, Emily's, still shaken from her mother's passing, and Alexander's, hardened by years of solitude and ambition. And slowly, without realizing it, Clara became part of their family. The greatest twist came not from luxury, but from love. Alexander, the man who had everything money could buy, realized he was missing the one thing Clara had given freely from the very start: compassion. And so, the poor nanny who once comforted a terrified little girl at the park unknowingly walked into a new chapter, one where she wasn't just a helper, but a mother figure, a partner, and a reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness can change lives forever. So the next time you see someone in need, remember Clara's story. Sometimes the world doesn't need grand gestures, it needs a hand held in a moment of fear, a soft word when everything feels dark. And who knows? That simple choice might be the beginning of something far greater than you ever imagined.